Are you currently experiencing self-quarantine because of a spontaneous global pandemic? Do you feel the encroaching creep of despair as the walls of your apartment slowly begin to close in around you? Has your lack of direct human contact caused you to rue the day that you ever professed your general disdain for people as though this whole pandemic is some sort of sick joke at your expense, with some fucking galactic overlord looking down on you smiling, whispering, "Are you happy now, Manic? Are you happy now?" Well, perhaps you could use some party games to spice up your life. It's kind of easy to find things to do online with 2 to 4 players nowadays, but I've found that virtual party games that host 6 to 10 players are a lot harder to find. So here's a list that I made with 5 games that have kept me sane during Global Armageddon. Let's play. Trivia Murder Party is a weird mix of horror and comedy that's packaged together in a memorable trivia game. Now, here's the thing, I usually hate trivia games, but this one always puts a smile on my face even though I lose almost every time I play with my friends. What makes this game different compared to others of its kind is the fact that there's a surprisingly diverse number of minigames that you can experience with Trivia Murder Party as a result of its clever game design. See, every time you get a trivia question wrong, you and the other losers get sent to the killing floor to play this minigame thing, where if you lose, you technically die, but you can still win the whole thing by beating everyone in this big trivia race at the end. It's really cool. The setup for this game can be a tad complex, so hear me out, so that you can replicate it at home. For starters, you'll need to have someone hosting the game. If no one owns the Jackbox Party Mix that contains Trivia Murder Party, then you can basically just have everyone pitch in to buy it, as the game is available on pretty much every console, as well as PC apparently. The host will then need to find some way to stream the game. My buddy Margo uses FaceTime to record his iPad so that my friends and I can see what's going on. Because we need the sound of the game going, my friends and I communicate using Discord. The setup looks kinda weird, but it isn't too crazy to put together. Every other player then pulls open a laptop to see the stream while actually answering the questions and playing the minigames on their phones, which is good because you might find that the streaming quality might be a little on the blurry side. While the game is technically 8 players max, you can have extra players participate as audience members and then have them rotate into the game every so often so that everyone gets a chance to play. Plus, audience members even get to bet on who will live and die in each challenge, which is kind of a fun thing in and of itself. The game is definitely meant to be played face-to-face, but if you follow the previous steps, then you'll be on your way to having a fun time with your friends. The rest of the Jackbox games are pretty playable too, though they're much harder to play during a quarantine. Scribble is just dumb fun. The premise is simple. One player is going to try drawing a word or phrase, and everyone else tries to guess it as fast as possible. To start, all of your friends open a shared Google Doc, and they just fill the thing with words and phrases that aren't too complex. Be sure to divide the words with commas rather than spaces, unless you're using phrases. So for example, if your words were corn, airplane, Harry Houdini, and Lapras, you would go corn, comma, airplane, comma, Harry, space, Houdini, comma, Lapras, comma, and then whatever else you want. When you're done with this step, go to the link that I've provided in the description. Then you have someone copy-paste all of the words, and that's it. You get to play this game completely for free. It's a really casual experience, so even elderly or younger players can join in, assuming they have access to a computer. Alternatively, things can get kinda raunchy and edgy if you have friends like mine, so the game is exceptionally versatile. The game's only weakness is that, for one of my friends, she kept getting kicked out of the game from time to time, and that was kind of annoying. Not sure if that's a problem that other people have faced, but it was admittedly a mild disturbance for us. That said, it was an overall great time, and I can't recommend it enough, especially considering its ease of setup. Use Discord to connect to voice chat, and you've got yourself an evening of fun. So, Moral Dilemma requires that someone order the game online, but it's only like $30 on Amazon, so that's not so bad. The game is simple. The person who owns the card game reads out one of the Moral Dilemma cards, and each Moral Dilemma card has 2 answers on it. The player thinks about the dilemma a little bit, and then selects one of the 2 answers in secret. Then, when the player knows what they would do, everyone else in the chat has to debate on what they think that person would choose. When everyone is ready, proceed to have everyone simultaneously throw their answer into the Discord chat to see who's right. As you can see on the screen, some of the questions can get a little raunchy. However, the cards are divided into green, yellow, and red labels, green being the least saucy, and red being a super mega spicy meatball. This means that you can play a rated G game, a rated R game, or just a fun mix of everything. A huge plus to this game is that it requires an abysmally low setup, requiring only the cards themselves as well as everyone joining in together on a Discord group. You also get to learn a lot about the people you play with, so it's a great social game overall. Also, just a reminder that if you love the sound of my voice, remember to lick and subscribe and don't be glib. That is to say, just hit the buttons below. You know the drill. Anyway, on to the next one. Okay, so this is a variant on a game that you may have seen on something like Jimmy Fallon if you watch that kind of late night stuff. The game is quite simple. You get everyone to write down a whole bunch of numbers on a notepad and then have them write down a whole bunch of truths and lies, as many as possible in 5 minutes. The truths have to be things that people wouldn't believe about you, and the lies have to be egregious, things that are in no way true at all, but could maybe be true in some alternate universe. Then, you guys take turns selecting a person in your group and pick out one of their numbers at random. The person reads out their statement, and everyone takes a few minutes asking the individual for more details pertaining to the claim that was made. So, if I say that I once bumped into Hungrybox, you could ask me where I met him, when I met him, what we talked about, etc. This one is actually true, by the way. He was pretty nice. If you have a friend or two in your group who knows you super well, then it might be useful for that friend to avoid asking you questions, but overall this game is super awesome and is a test of your creativity, your ability to lie, and your ability to catch other people in their own lies. You can choose to keep track of points or just play for fun, and the beauty of the game is that, like Moral Dilemma, you can kinda just stop and go at any time, and people can join or leave the group as they please without changing the dynamic of the game all that much. It's a super fun party game that has a lot of the same strengths as Moral Dilemma, all while being completely free. There is no game that has more positively changed my outlook on life more than Texas Hold'em. It is probably, due to popular culture, the most misunderstood game of all time. The game has taught me the value of patience, and has improved my decision-making in ways that I never thought possible. There has never been a better time to get into poker than being stuck in a quarantine, and the best part is that you can kinda learn the game at the same time as your friends. I know that in these times of economic ruin, people might not feel like they have the resources to play a game like poker, but if you have $10 on you, then you've got yourself upwards of like 3 hours of fun poker playing. Think of it as spending money to go see a really long movie. PokerStars is an interesting site for cash games, but if you're playing with friends and want to avoid rake, then it's even tough to play free cash games because there's like this weird 5% rake that the game takes away from you every time, and it just ruined an entire game that my friends and I were trying to play, and I don't want to get into it. What I would instead recommend doing is putting a $5 buy-in for a tournament that allows for you to have a first, second, and third place winner. When playing with 10 or more players, it'll be super useful to have 2 separate tables. My recommended rule set will be in the description down below, but you can basically allow for the blinds to increase every 20 minutes or so that people don't just camp their way to victory. The rebuy system also allows for people who get unlucky in the first hour to keep playing even if they bust out, so everyone gets to play for at least a little while. The best part about poker is taking the time to philosophically and mathematically break down the decisions that were made in any given game. Poker has honestly led to some of the best conversations I've ever had with my friend group that didn't involve us arguing over whether Jigglypuff is high tier or low tier in Smash Ultimate. She's solid mid tier, by the way. I'll be coming out with a video in the next few coming weeks that breaks down a bluffing scene from Casino Royale to show how online poker is just as big brain as IRL poker, and you don't really lose that much by playing online. And that's about it. Those are the 4 party games that I'd recommend during your evenings stuck in quarantine. All of these games have immense replay value, so they alone can create entire evenings of fun. I'll be blunt, fam. These next few weeks will not be easy. Actually, these next few months might not be easy, and we're not even through the worst of things yet. The projections that scientists are pulling out don't look that great. But we can choose to see these trying times as opportunities for growth and bonding and learning if we can move past our instinct to marinate in our own misery. Since I was young, games have sort of served as my favorite method of storytelling, but my analytical mindset can sometimes cause me to forget what games are best at. Games are best at causing you to escape to a different place that isn't as shitty as the one you're in right now. The best thing I can say about party games is that even in the times when you feel the most isolated, they can remind you that you're never really alone, and that there are always people who are just a call or so away who are willing to spend an evening with you. And that is something that not even a goddamn global pandemic can take away from you.